Good morning. My name is Michael Galloria Jr., and I'm chair of the Stonewall Caucus, and I'll be your presenter for today. I do want to thank you for joining us to learn about the how to be a better advocate for your issues and having your voice heard. So, um, like I said, I am Michael Galloia. I have 22 plus years of experience of advocacy at the state capitol. And so I'm going to try to give you some of my wisdom, things I've learned over the years, and just make sure everybody has the right hitting the right able to hit the ground running when we start in 2024 legislative session. I'm going to quickly go through what we're going to go over today, and then we're going to, like I said earlier, we're going to flip between this and the live using the website for the Capitol's website as well as the PAR's resources. And PAR is the public access room. You'll see all the information at the bottom of the slide. At the end of this session, I will be putting a link into the chat that will give you access to the slide deck. That link will also be posted when this video gets posted to YouTube, as well as posted to the at the request of the legislative committee. We're going to be creating a legislative page on the Democratic Party website, so you'll have these resources available to you and to all party members throughout the session. So, okay, we're going to cover out how a bill becomes a law, using the parse information. Like I said, a participant's guide to walk through the session so you know what to expect. If this is your first session or just I know some of this is going to be old hat to some of you, but a refresher is never a bad thing. A glossary of legislative terms. We're not going to cover all of them. I'm just going to show you where they're at and cover some key ones for you to know, because there are a lot. Then we're going to do an overview on how to use the Capitol online system. It has gone through a refresh, as it were. They just did some updates again, no major changes, but we just make sure everybody knows where everything's located and how to use it. Then we'll go cover effective written testimony, effective verbal testimony, engaging staff and elected officials, do's and don'ts there, and how to support your bill outside of hearings. And then, like I said, at the end, we'll do question and answers. So up first is how a bill becomes a law. All bills go through this process, whether they're in the House or the Senate. After a bill's introduced, it gets its first reading, and that's usually pro forma. I've only seen 3 times in the last 22 years where somebody voted against a bill in the first reading. The latest one that I remember was the marriage equality bill during the special session 10 years ago. And then after it gets its first reading, it is then referred to committees. This is done by the Speaker in the House and then the Senate President, within conference with the leadership teams on both those chambers. This is where you're going to know how hard it's going to be to get your bill passed. A single referral usually means you're going to have a pretty easy time of getting your bill through, just as long as you can get a hearing. If in the House you have 3 referrals, anything more than 3, your bill is probably not going to get heard or passed. It might get a couple of hearings, but it's going to be a uphill battle. So that's what you're going to know that from the committee that refers to when it's referred to the committees. Up for committee referrals also have single referrals or joint referrals. You'll see like judiciary/health on one, and that means judiciary takes the lead on that, but health is secondary. But they have to hear it. They have to have a joint hearing for that one point, that one referral, and then it goes on to the next referrals if it has any other. So you get a hearing. After the hearing, there's a committee report that comes out. The bill then goes to the floor for a second reading. In the Senate, this is where there's not a lot of debate done on second reading, if at all. They take votes. And in the House, there can be some debate on second reading. But usually in both chambers, they save the knockdown, drag out fights, as it were. Yeah, for the third reading. And then after it passes the second reading, it goes on to the next referral. If it doesn't have another referral, it's a single referral, then it has to sit on the deck for, I think, 24 hours, and then it goes back to the third reading in the chamber. After that passes the third reading, it then gets sent over to the non-originating chamber. But if it had multiple referrals, then it goes between the second and third readings. It has to have all those hearings in the order that you see the referrals done. Jumping the line unless you can get somebody to waive off a hearing, which is harder to do. Easy to say, harder to do. Yeah. So after it does that, it goes to the third reading as well. So after your bills have passed third reading, they go to the other chamber, where again they have another first reading, and they go through that exact same process we just did for the originating chamber. Then if the bill comes out of its non-originating chamber in the same form that it came out of its originating chamber, it automatically goes up to the governor's office, and then the governor has 10 days if it happens within, what is it? He or she has 10 days if it happens within 20 days of the end of session, something like that. Don't hold me to that. But if they pass the bill with it outside of that 10 days of the end of session, and then the governor has 45 working days, not calendar days, to review the bills and decide if the governor's going to sign it into law, veto, or become law without their signature. But a bill coming out of the second non-originating chamber, in the same form it entered, is few and far between. So what happens then? It goes back to in the non-originating chamber. It goes from the non-originating, goes back to its originating chamber, and they decide if they're going to agree or disagree with the changes. If they agree with the changes to the bill, it goes back for a final reading on the floor, and they can debate it yet again. And so they debate, vote on it, and if it passes, then it again goes to the governor's office. If they disagree, here's where it becomes fun for some people. It gets sent to conference. And so what that means is that each chamber will pick leads. They're usually the first person it was referred to, the primary chair of that committee, or their designee will become, usually it's the chair of those committees, becomes the lead for that conference to oversee the bill. And then they have conference committee meetings. This is where a lot of the stuff is done behind the scenes. They come in, they talk. Oh, where are we at? Did you see my version, my CD1, which means conference draft 1 of the bill, or CD2, what have you? And they're like, yes, no, we agree, disagree. Oh, finally come together. And this goes on for way too long for some bills. It's period. We'll look at it when we go to look at the legislative calendar of how many days this goes back and forth. And there's not a lot of transparency during this time period, because we, the public, do not get to see the CD1s until it's something that they're actually going to vote on, that they have agreed to. Their CDs, we don't see the conference drafts at all until they're ready for vote. And then if the committees vote on it, yes, get it out, and then it has to go back to both chambers for to pass final reading. And then it goes up to the governor's office. So in short, that's how a bill becomes a law. And yes, I've had to tell that to so many people graduating from law school. So, okay, we're gonna escape out of this real quick. We're gonna go to share, and we're gonna screen share. Here we go. Here. Bill's journey. Here we go. So what I just covered there is basically what you're going to find here on a Bill's journey. It gives you everything, the step-by-steps. So and it goes into a lot more detail than we have time for today, because I do want to give you back part of your Saturday. But it has all the information you're going to need. I encourage you, if this is your first time doing advocacy at the Capitol, that you do refer to this, go over it at least once before the start of session. They also have like types of measures and bills. There are two different types. There's a bill, there's a resolution, and then there's a governor's message. HB stands for House Bill, SB stands for Senate Bill. I only follow concurrent resolutions. That means there's a resolution in the House as well as the Senate, and of the same exact resolution, because those, while they do not have the enforcement of law, they can do things like a sunrise audit, require a sunrise audit. They can require task force. They call upon the Department of Education to change the name of a high school, stuff like that. Resolutions just basically, this is what this chamber thinks. And unfortunately, most of us do not have time to deal with that, especially those of us that are doing this as volunteers. We can, the fundamentals of what makes up a bill. When you look at a bill, what are you seeing? You're going to see the bill number, like it's HB, House Bill, the title, what it's covering, the area it covers, and when they write the narrowing of a title of a bill, that has to, anything that bill deals with has to be within that title. If it does not, it's deemed out of order and will be, it's unconstitutional. And then you have the sections. The section one, let's see, first sometimes there's a foreword or an introduction to the bill. That is not required. It's usually there to give legislative intent about the bill, but has no enforceable law. It can be used by the courts when trying to decipher what the legislators wanted, if there was any ambiguity in the law. And then you go through the different sections. The first section covers what parts of the statutes are being either added or replaced. The second to the last of the statutory materials and then the last section is when the bill will take effect. It can take upon signing. It can be a specific date, and it could be multiple times. Like I've seen, section 1 takes effect on this date. Section 2 takes effect on this date, and there you go. So, and then finally, yeah. So there you go. And if there's a defective date, if it gets out of both of the chambers and there's a defective date, which means such as 2050, or you'll hear they'll change the defective date sometimes to 2130, and it's so that usually it's done in the chamber, the originating chamber. They'll put a defective date before they send it out, so they can always have a second bite at the apple should there be anything done in the bill. So there you go. So that's a bill. Resolutions, like I said, we covered that quickly. Again, this is other resources for you. We're not going to be able to cover everything today. So there you go. We're going to, we did a walk through the session. So we're going to walk through the session. Oh, yes, like I said, there's legislative glossary that you're gonna need to know. Like an act is what became a law. We're not going to cover all these today. I encourage you, if again, this is not your first time if this is not your first time, if this is your first time, you definitely want to view these. The one things that we care about the most are advising consent is for the governor's appointments for boards and commissions, as well as directors and some deputy directors, as well as judges need advice and consent of the Senate. Amendment on the floor amends the bill. We are in the second year of a biennium, which is a 2-year period, 2024. So that actually it does help us as we come in for this training, because the website's already live and has bills in there, so we can look at those later. And so everything carries over from the first session to the second session. And it picks up exactly, that bill will pick up exactly where it was left off of the last session. So if it was in conference, it stays in conference, and they can pick it up right up and run with it to the finish line. That happens few and far between. I wish it happened more often, but what usually ends up happening is they end up having to resubmit a new bill, cleaning it up. Whatever amendments had been made to the original bill from the first year of the biennium have been picked up for the second year. Again, I encourage you to look these things over. Crossover is the time period that a bill must be out of its originating chamber to its non-originating chamber, as well as second crossover is just like it sounds. It's the second time that those, after they've have to be out of its non-originating chamber and back to the originating chamber to support or oppose the amendments made in that. Decking is the time period it requires that when bills have to be made available to all members of the legislature before they can be passed. And as they're made available to all members of the legislature, they're also made available to the public. So yeah, like I said, I encourage you to go through these, read through them. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Also, the public access room. Most of them are straightforward, and they're the wonderful people there at the public access room did a really good job of making these definitions easy to understand. Okay, so hold on, let me stop that. I thought I had this memorized. I apologize. Um, we're gonna do this. Here we go. I already did that. That's basically the whole walk through the journey of the bill. That's all good. So we've done that. You know what you basically what's in the bill's journey about how a bill becomes a law. We've covered that. We've covered glossary terms. Now we're going to be using the legislative website. Is that what's up next? And there we go. Here you go. The legislative website. This is their guide. I encourage you, if we're going to do a live version of this right now, but if you have any questions, I encourage you to use this as a resource when using the if you get stuck. It's semi-intuitive with the website, depending on except for if you're used to the old website. So if this is your first time coming in, you're going to want to register and create an account. This account will follow you as long as you have the access to that email address and you can log in. So you put in your name, and this is how you want your name to appear on the testimony that you're submitting. If you're only submitting using the online form, and we'll cover that a little bit more later. If you're representing an organization, well, you all are members of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. There's only one person that can speak for the party at any one time, and that is the chair or the chair's designee on any bill. So while we are glad to have you all here, just remember that you cannot do not put down Democratic Party of Hawaii for organization. If you're representing one of the caucuses, you of course put the caucus name there or any other organization that you may be with. As long as you have the rights to speak on behalf of that organization. Your phone number is not required. You can or cannot put that in the email. Again, the email address that you want to use. Verify the email again, create password, and basically what they're saying here is that you understand that anything you submit using this website becomes public information, especially when it comes to submitting testimony. So, and then you click create user. But since I already have one, I'm going to log in. So yes. So, and I encourage you that if you're representing multiple organizations and you use multiple emails and multiple accounts, because it's going to be a lot easier and cleaner when you go to submit testimony, as well as if you're tracking, because sometimes, unless you're going to be submitting testimony for, yeah, you're going to need multiple email accounts to be able to submit multiple pieces of testimony. Like if your organization, you're representing 3 different organizations and each organization wants to submit testimony on a single bill, you are going to need multiple accounts. Or you can just load it up all as individual, as one document, one right after the other, but it gets it's harder on the staff. So I recommend it also and creates a record of that organization's position on the bill. Okay. So you've created your account, you've logged in. We're back to the home page. and this is where you're going to find everything you're going to need. You can find out the House members, the Senate, the committees, the different committees there are, who's chairing it, who's the co-chair. And then if you click through, you get to see who the members are and so forth. We're going to go back to the homepage. The events. Here we go. Upcoming hearings, order of the day. Upcoming hearings. If there were any hearings coming up, this is where you'd find them all. You see them all listed it's by committee, not by bill. Order of the day. This is what happens when they're in session, and you can let's go grab one. Let's go back to session, order of the day, and grab it. Hopefully there wasn't. Of course, I picked the date. Anyways, the order of the day comes out anywhere between 2 hours or 30 seconds before the beginning of session, and this is where it will tell you the order of the bills that they're going to be hearing on the floor, like for first reading, second reading, or third reading. That's what those the orders of the days, and those orders of the days, like you just saw, only come out when they're in session. We now have live and on-demand video, so you can use that to go back and watch any of the sessions that were the floor sessions, the Senate sessions. Also, you can also go back and see hearings now that we have remote testimony. And the legislative calendar. You're going to want to, when the new one comes out, you're going to want to look at it to make sure you know when opening day is, which is always the third Wednesday of the January. And then you'll see cutoffs. You'll see when bills have to be introduced by at the very beginning. Just because they're in recess doesn't mean, recess means that they're not having session that day. Does not mean that they're not having hearings. More likely they are going to have more hearings on recess days because they don't have to go to session. And then you'll see state of the state by the governor, then state of the judiciary by the Supreme Court justice. And then going through this really quickly, triple referral filings. That means it has to be, if it has, like I said, if it has 4 referrals, it's really hard. Because it has to be out of the third committee. First lateral, it means it has to be out of its second committee and only have one referral left before the final referral of the bill. See how quickly that goes from the introduction to, yeah, so getting 2 different hearings by this time is going to be really hard. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to get one hearing. Anyways, I digress. First lateral is, like I said, it has to be out of has to be in its first lateral is has to be in its coming out of its final hearings. Then it has to be heard by heard and voted on by the Senate, the House or the Senate in its first decking. Then it crosses over. First crossover. Then you have substantive resolution cutoff. These are those concurrent resolutions that are looking to anything that's looking to make a statement. Non-substantive resolutions are the honoring somebody for something, but not doing anything of substance. Budget actually has different deadlines, as you'll see, the budget decking, and budget bills will also have a different deadline as you go through. So you're going to want to know these deadlines so you know you paying attention to your referrals when they have to be out of the first committee, second committee, and out of their final committee to meet these deadlines, or otherwise your bill could be dead. I say could be because there are other things which we're not going to cover today. It's more of an advanced class, and then we will probably do that later in the year. So make sure you know the legislative calendar. So that's the legislative calendar. Now, are you ready to participate? Of course you are. But to be able to participate, you're going to want to know what bills you're going to want to follow. And there are multiple ways to do that. You can do a search by measure status if you know the bill numbers, like SB 123, Senate Bill 123. Or you can do on a keyword search. But what I recommend doing is going over and doing by reports and lists. Here's where you'll find every different kind of report. We're going to go back in time to 2023 because you'll see everything here. You can do it by measure by package. Package includes what the governor's package is, what came over from the state county of Honolulu. Then the caucuses have their packages. So let's pull up the equality package. And this is the bills that were introduced by the caucus as priorities that they have. In the House, they get 5 bills. And in the Senate, they have 5 bills as well that can be in the package. So they're part of the package. And so you can see pulls and then you want to make sure that you have these numbers so we can go back and create your tracking. So yeah, so once you've gone out and you found all the bills, you write them down, you want to know, or you go in and you create your measure tracking. And this is going to be something to help you create your grid. It looks like this. Once you create a list, you put your name in here, create a list. Like I'm going to make 2024 Stonewall. See, it creates it there, and then you show the list. There's nothing in it, and then you start adding your things. But I'm actually not going to do 2024 Stonewall because I'm going to just rename this 2024. And the reason for that is because there's a couple glitches sometimes on the website. Pardon me. It's because we are in the second year of the biennium. And I want to follow all the bills that we were following in 2023 and 2024 as well. And so do that. Again, sometimes there's glitches. But anyway, so you have your list. Let's say I renamed it. Show the list. This is the list from 2024. And they get put in the order that you insert them in. So you put in the bill number, and then if you have any notes that you want to put, and that will show up on your tracking sheet. Like I wanted people to know that these are my priority bills, or the Stonewall Caucus's priority bills, things that we're going to oppose. If there's other things that if it gets a hearing, what we're going to ask for, if we're going to ask for amendments. Again, if you're going to be using this internally or externally, we use this as an external document so everybody knows what we're doing. But you can keep this internally for yourself if there's things you want to remember. Oh, I like this bill, right? I like this bill, but this. So you put it in there and it generates. Once you do all that, you hit generate report, and it gives you this. And this is your own personal list. And then you can sort by the bill number, which will give you all the House bills first and then the Senate bills. Here you'll see, again, the bill number, the title, and a small synopsis of what the bill does. Sometimes it's longer than others, depending on what it does. And then, like I said, here's your notes that appear. It tells you the current status of it. Your introducers. If you see somebody's name in all caps, that means the first person is the primary co-sponsor of the bill. If the rest of the names are all in caps, that means if they would have been an introducer of the bill had not the primary introducer been the introducer of the bill. If you see people's names in lowercase letters, like here, Souza, Representative Souza supports the bill, but not enough to. She would not have introduced it had Hussey Burdick not introduced it. Representative Hussey Burdick not introduced You get your referrals. Again, where I showed you the legislative glossary terms, the first tab on that gives you walks you through all the acronyms. Do not try to memorize them all. There are tons out there. You're going to want to know just your committee acronyms for the committees that most of your bills are going to be going to. And as you see, we pay attention to health, human services, WAM, uh, uh, judiciary, but depending on what your subject matter is depending on what you primarily are going to be paying attention to. So after you've done all that, you're going to want to go and get your hearing notifications. Again, you have to do this these are individual things. This is where you put in those bill numbers you just put into your tracking, but this is where you put them in here, and you will get hearing notices sent directly to your email when the bill comes up for a hearing. And so I encourage you to do it by bill, not by committee, unless you are gung-ho and don't mind getting 100 emails about, because every time there's a hearing notice, anytime there's a hearing for that committee, you'll get a hearing notice. And the hearing notices do not show you, you'll just get an email saying, oh, you have a hearing notice. You got to click through to find out what bills are being heard in that hearing. But if you want that, you can go here. You put in your bill numbers here is what I recommend. But if you want to be extra, you can go over and pick the committees that you really want to follow, and then you'll get those hearings as well. And if you're going to follow it in one chamber, you're going to want to follow it in the other. And so unclick water and land because we don't need that anymore. So there you go. Save and exit. So yeah, so that now will give you your hearing notices, so you don't need to come and check the upcoming hearings. It automatically will be sent to your inbox. The public access room, that information, but these other reports are invaluable when you're looking for things, because like all the measures, like I said, are carried over. I encourage you to use this if you're looking for bills after the bills start getting introduced. Since we are in the second year of the biennium, bill introduction usually will start before opening day, so you can start adding to your list. I encourage you to go through both the Senate and the House and pick your keywords, because like we look for sexual, see what comes up with sexual. And so and seeing what those bills and we go through. At first, what you're going to want to do is create your list, and then if you have, it depends on how many bills you have, you go through and you read them all sooner or later. If you don't have time, you just collect them all, put them in your things, get your things going, and then as they come up, you should read the bill to decide if it's a good bill or a bad bill. Yeah, if you are leading an organization, I encourage you to at least take a gloss over the bill to make sure you know what the bill's about, so you can make the position for your organization. So yeah, like I said, we can do that for the different. If you want to see what your representatives are up to, or your senators, let's go grab. Let's see what Chris Lee's up to. Senator Lee. And again, here you can decide if he's a primary introducer, first primary introducer. Like I said, he's the first person on the list. The primary introducer would be anybody else in all caps. And if they did it by request, which means they didn't really want the bill, but somebody they asked them to do it. Some cases that's a kiss of death. In some cases it's not. It just depends. He's a co-sponsor or co-sponsored by request, and that is when just the first initial is capitalized. So let's see, he's the first primary introducer. Let's look at his. You can see all the bills he's introduced as the first primary introducer. And the Senate has unlimited number of bills. The House does not. So that's why caucuses help be able to get some of, especially for us here at the Stonewall Caucus, to be able to get some of our issues through by them having the Equality Caucus. So the legislators can take care of their district as well as take care of the issues that they care about. Like with the Women's Caucus, they have theirs is the Keiki Caucus, Kapuna Caucus. Again, these are caucuses that only exist inside the big square building. They don't actually exist in outside that building. And they also use the term caucus when they meet within their party. So like when the House members get together, it's caucusing. The House Democrats get together, it's caucusing. The House Republicans get together, it's caucusing. There you go. So you now know how to find your bills, put them into the participant thing. You'll get your hearing notices, submit testimony. You have multiple ways of submitting testimony. You'll get you can follow your hearing notice link and it'll take you there. Or if you already know, let's say HB 100. Oh, I put it in there, but oh, it doesn't have a hearing right now. So I can't submit testimony. So we're like, okay, no testimony. But you can put the hearing notice in there. It will come up with it will pull up your bill, give you it will have already filled in all the information you made when you made your account in there. And then you're going to need to go through and say if you support, oppose, or comments only. And then if you are going to want to test, if you're only submitting written testimony only, or if you're going to, you want to show up in person, or if you want video, a remote testimony. If you're not sure if you're going to be somewhere, but you want to do in-person test, you want to then at least talk to them, verbal testimony of some kind, I suggest you do the video because you'll get the link and it will come over here the morning of the hearing and you'll be able to activate it here. So like here's again, this is from the PARS, walks you through it all. Here's when it comes up, this is what you will see. Submit testimony, put in your name. If you oppose, support. If you're testifying as an individual or an organization, again, how you're going to be testifying. If you're going to written only is usually the defunct position. And then you have two choices. You can upload a file, or you can just copy and paste from your Word document into the text box. And we're going to cover written testimony in a little bit, but then just a reminder, everything you submit here becomes part of the public record. Anything you submit in the little text box. So do not put your home phone number, your cell number, your email address. And I encourage you not to do the same in your written testimony, if you upload a document. Scrub all your contact information, unless you want people to know it, but people will use it to contact you. And then once you've done it all and you're all ready to go, you hit submit. Once you submit, you can't go back and make any changes. So just make sure you're okay with it. And reminder that if your testimony does need to be in within 24 hours of the hearing to be on the record. Anything after that will be marked as late, but the system will accept it up until the start of the hearing. And in some cases, I think on the Senate side, they will accept it even after the hearing has started. On the House side, not so much. Then it takes you back to the page that we were just at on the website, and it will show you where you saw that list. You'll see everything there that gives you the bill number, your position, thumbs up, support, thumbs down. Notepad means comments only. The hearing, who's being heard by, dates, room number, and time. And then you can always view your testimony, but you can't change it. Again, if you're doing for Zoom testifiers, there's all that information there. They encourage you to log in 15 to 20 minutes earlier. I don't do that. I come in like 5 minutes before, if that. Sometimes I'm flipping between committees. So you do your best. And then again, there's more information there that you can find about their testimony and how to write testimony. So that's how to submit testimony. We've done all that. Now we're gonna hearing notice tracking. Okay, written effect. I'm gonna go back to, we're gonna go over theirs. because and I'll give you my tips for testimony. Here's the tips that they give you for testimony. Include the essentials you're going to want if you're going to put it on a separate document, bill number, bill title, your name. You address the committee chairs and members. You set your standards. Some people will list them all out. Some will just address the chair and vice chair. Some will just address the chair. I usually, at the top of it, you want to tell them if you're supporting or opposing the bill, because in some cases they have hundreds of pieces of testimony or thousands of pieces to read between the 24-hour cutoff, and they don't read it. Sometimes they read it. They say they read it all. Or their staffer will read it and they will create a tally sheet of support and oppose. And if they're in a rush, you don't want them to overlook your support or opposition to the testimony that you took the time out of your day to get in. So you put that at the top. Don't hide it. If you're representing an organization yourself or you're an organization, introduce yourselves. Even if you know all the legislators by name or they know you, but again, because this is part of a public record, so if anybody pulls it up, it's not just for the legislators, it's also for the general public. You want to summarize your position, be factual, to the point. If you have a personal story, you can put it in there. You state at the bottom, restate your position and thank them. Unless you are a expert, and I mean expert in the field, keep it to one page. They say keep it short. I say keep it to one page. Anything more than one page, if you're not an expert, you're not a subject matter expert in the field, unless you have a long, compelling story, personal story, keep it to one page. Like I said, they have hundreds of pages, and when you're telling a personal story, make sure it's something that you don't mind the entire world knowing. Because like I said, it becomes part of the public record. It will be there forever. And anybody can see and read it. So, here's some other things that I know this is going to sound like common sense, but common sense is unfortunately not that common. Spell check, grammar check. If you're not sure, have a friend look at it. I know there's a quick turnaround times, so that's why sometimes, in some cases, if it's something you really care about, pre-draft your testimony. Start drafting testimony today or this before the beginning of the session, so you have your things ready to go. If you're with an organization and you're trying to get people to support your bill, and or even if as an individual you want to go out and you're going to become a citizen lobbyist, go out there and make sure you have talking points that you can share with people. Make them clear and easy to understand. Again, you don't need to have pages and pages of talking points. One pager, half a page about why this bill matters or this issue matters to you, be it free feminine hygiene products in all public buildings, because we now have them in our public schools. So why not in our public buildings? Anyway, so something like that. Anyways, like, especially if it's, yeah, again, clear and easy and concise and succinct, so you can get other people to on your side. And if you want to share your testimony with other people, you can, but do not let them copy and paste. Well, it's a personal thing. That's why the caucus never sends out our testimony in advance. I do not. The more effort you put into it, the more impact it has when it comes to written testimony. So you have petitions here, form letters just right above it, another form letter, right up. Anything that takes really easy is really easy. Don't. Yes. So yeah, so again, as much effort it takes is how much more effort you're going to get out of it, or they're going to actually pay attention to. Again, we're saying keeping it short. So if you want to just a couple quick sentences, hi, my name is, I support this bill because, please pass it out. And that's it. You don't need to go into details. You don't need to do, and again, unless you're the subject matter expert or you're the person leading the charge in the bill, shorten to the point. But that has much more impact than getting 50 copies of the same letter from people. So again, yeah, just keep that in mind. Short, to the point. Grammar and spell check are wonderful ideas, and I highly recommend those. Again, spell check and grammar are your friends. Anyway, so that's written testimony. And you already know how to get that in there. So oral testimony. Again, address the chair, vice chairs, keep it. You will be given a time limit in certain committees, and you need to keep to that shortened time limit. If this is your first time testifying, deep breaths. They're just people, just like you're there. They in most cases they want to hear you. They wouldn't have this hearing without, because well, most cases they want to hear what you have to say. And we look forward to those representatives and senators. We like those senators and representatives a lot that pay attention and listen to the people that come out. And so just deep breaths, let them know if this is your first time testifying. They'll be a lot easier on you than some of us veterans, as it were. Introduce yourself, the group that you're representing, state clearly what your points are, why you're supporting the bill or opposing the bill. Like it says there, be courteous, respectful, and professional. Do not curse, do not talk down to them. You don't treat them the way you want to be treated. Remember, they are human beings and they will take offense if you are offensive. Tell the truth. Anything you can Google and find out that's not the truth, don't say it. Don't exaggerate too much. You can to make a point. I've been known to do that. But anyway, so yeah, but keep it to the time limit. When your time is up, thank them for the opportunity for testifying and reminding them your position. And you maybe ask questions. Some cases they take all the testimony and they ask questions at the end of all verbal testimony. Other times they will ask you questions right then and there. So it depends on the hearing, and you'll be able to tell by the other bills on your hearing notice, because there's not going to just be one bill usually, unless it's a big bill. On a hearing notice, you'll have at least some advance notice. And the order of oral testimony, just so you know, it's the protocol is feds, state, county, NGOs, which is non-government organizations, and then individuals. And it's done in the order it's usually in the order that they were received, unless somebody's made special arrangements because they have to go catch a plane. So if you're an NGO and you're got to catch a flight and you're in front of a neighbor island representative, they will put you first over everybody else to get you out of there, usually, especially if you're from their island. But you have to get that in advance. But only ask for that if it's absolutely necessary, because they will remember if you do ask for it and you do not need it. So there you go. So that's that. That's oral testimony and written testimony. What do we have up next? Oh yes, engaging staff. Here we go. Back. Okay, advocacy. Here we go. Okay, before we get into this, I encourage you to read all of this. That's all great information and things. But the one things you're going to want to remember when you're making phone calls or reaching out directly to the legislators, you're going to get their staff. Sometimes their office managers, those that have larger committees have larger staffs. And you're going to remember that those people answering the phones are human beings. Don't be rude to them. Don't be mean. And I'm saying this because I've seen it happen. I don't expect the people on this call to do that, but just when you're talking for anybody who's listening to this recording, is that you got to be polite if you want politeness brought back to you. And you don't want to be known as that person at the Capitol that always screams and yells at legislators. Because you won't get meetings, you won't get hearing, and you may not get hearing notices. So just be organized. If you ask for a meeting, realize that the best time to start asking for meetings is January 2nd, because or if you have time, see if they're in the office between now and the end of the year. They may not be, but try to get meetings now. They're all doing bill prep as we speak. So they might have time between meetings to do bill, to meet with you, to talk about why your bill failed last year, or what you're putting forward this year. And yeah, so don't think that once the legislative session starts that's the best time to start in it lobbying for your bills. Now is a great time. You can lobby 20 after start lobbying for the next session right after, especially in the second year of the biennium. Um, so know the office members' names. Get to remember the office managers. If you're going to be spending time at the Capitol, or especially if you go into the office and the legislator may be there, but you walk in, you need to talk to the staff first, because that's their job. And you don't know what's on the legislator's the legislator's calendar. If they're off to a hearing, they already have a meeting on the books. You walk in, talk to the office manager or whoever happens to be the greeter, and see when you can meet with them. If they're really busy, ask to meet with the staffer, whoever's in charge of that committee that your bill's in front of. And this is when, if you're going to see the chair or vice chairs usually the chair of the committee, they will have a staffer that oversees that one committee, and meet with them. If you can't meet with the legislator, again, remember their names. Advocate with passion, but don't be rude. Be prepared. If you don't know the answers, if they ask you a question you don't know, say you don't know. Again, don't lie. Don't make things up. Just say, I'll get back to you. If you're going to go walk around, it's encouraged that you have a leave behind, especially if you're doing a major push on a major issue that has the talking points. It doesn't need to be. You'll see the professional lobbyists, they'll come in with these huge packets. They usually have lots of money behind them, but you coming in with a quarter page saying these are the issues, or a one pager. Quarter pages tend to get lost. So, but a quarter page, if that's all you can afford, that's all you can afford. And that you're like, sorry, I only have, and then you tell the staff, I only have enough for all the legislators. I'm doing this on my own dime, kind of thing. So they will appreciate the effort. The big glossy packet sometimes just get stuck in a stack, versus the time it took you as an individual to get your voices heard. That you're prepared to leave that behind. If you do leave behind, you're going to want to make sure your contact information is on there somewhere. It doesn't have to be your phone number. An email address is fine, unless you want to hear back directly from the office. Yeah. So yeah, here's the thing. I'm going to be flexible and open to compromise. I know I've been quoted as saying in the paper, I do not compromise on civil rights. We don't. We stand up for what we believe in, but we realize that sometimes we do have to give a little somewhere to get what we're looking at the bigger picture. I would rather have 80% of a bill than no bill. So, and trust me, it took me a long time to learn that lesson. Sometimes I forget that lesson too. But again, be persistent. It took us 8 years to ban conversion therapy here in the state of Hawaii. This is torturing children, and it took us 8 years to ban it. From the first time that we got a bill hearing to the last time we finally got it passed. And then the next year we had to clean it up, but it took us 8 years. So yeah. Don't talk smack about your opponents. If there's somebody, there's no reason to talk. You don't want to even bring them up. You just talk about your issues, keep it positive, or why you're doing this, and what it's the impact this bill will have, what positive impacts, and how it's going to help make Hawaii a better place for all of us to live, kind of thing. If you have a catchy slogan, go with it. But if not, yeah. So and if you can't get a bill passed, a resolution is another way to at least keep the issue alive. And if you can get a concurrent resolution, better than a single chamber resolution. So like if you can get a task force out of it to study, unfortunately, that's what when they turn our bills into task force. So yeah, so some people just love to study the issues to death, like paid family leave. But anyways, moving right along. We're not going to talk. So we're not actually talking issues today. So, and you're also going to want to create a network, and not because you can't do this alone. You're going to want to look for like-minded people. If you don't know, you go into this is your first time, you go to your first hearing and you're there, you think you're all by yourself. You're not. You're going to see other people testifying on the bill or in the bills around that, and they're all in some, if they're health related, what health people are the saying, what health NGOs are out there, and start using that as a networking opportunity to talk to people to see if you all can come together to figure out to help your bill or your issue be moved forward the next session, should it not. And return the favors. If you get someone else to testify for you, do them a solid and testify for them on their bill. Because it will come back and help you as you come back. Because what you give out there definitely, in most cases, in some cases, but we don't need to talk about that. So yeah, personal stories when you're out there, keeping it fresh and figuring out how to engage. But yeah, creating your own coalition, as it were, and figuring out if it's going to coalition of individuals or coalition of NGOs that you can reach out to. Well, we know we can always rely on Planned Parenthood here at the Stonewall Caucus, and the Planned Parenthood always knows they can rely on us. So that kind of thing you build up, and these are the things you build up over years, and you're building up when you're advocating outside of hearings. You're building up a relationship with the legislators, and that's something that everybody needs to remember is when you're when your advocacy, this is not just a I want this and you have to do it because it's the best thing. You're trying to build you're building a relationship so you all know where everybody's coming from. In some cases, you know that legislator's never going to support your issue, and so therefore you don't spend any time on them. Do not waste your time on them. There are 24 other people in the Senate and 50 other people in the House that you can go talk to. So yeah, so that was how testifying, engaging with your legislators as well as advocating outside of the thing. I do want to, there's one other thing I want to share with you that wasn't on this, but it's the talking about what the tools the party has for you. And that is you'll find on our website. And sorry, and I'm going, here we go. Screen. If you haven't been to the party's website, I encourage you. The great people over at the comms committee have been doing a really good job of keeping it updated. You will find everything you need to know about the party here. But what we're going to talk about right now are our party's documents. Okay, so primarily what we're looking at right now, these are tools that the party provides to you to help you advocate. This is our platform. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to look at it. These are the guiding principles for our party. These are the things that we believe in as Democrats, and hopefully that as a member of the Democratic Party, you do too. These are big, bold ideas. We've done it. We did a huge overhaul of the platform in 2022. We took out all the individual things because it really constrains the party's ability to advocate. If it says we want clean drinking water we want clean water. How about that? We want a clean environment. So we talk about big, bold ideas here. Civil rights becomes a big, bold idea and not itemizing it out. And the reason we do that is because our platform is our guiding principles, and then we go to our resolutions, and if they're passed at a convention, they are policy for the party. And this is where we put our guiding principles into action. And this is where we get down to the nitty-gritty, and this is why we talk about the different areas. Like we talk about Red Hill. We want clean water. We don't put Red Hill into the platform. We talk about clean water in the platform. We talk about all these different things. We talk about marriage equality in a resolution instead of talk about civil rights in the platform. So again, they're all these. So I encourage you, if you haven't read it, to go. They're all right there. The parts of the platforms. There is a part on immigration. that was a question that for those of you watching online, there's a question about immigration. There's a portion in our platform about immigration. Again, I encourage you to read it, and then I'm going to repeat this, that these are tools, not weapons, for you to use for your advocating at the legislature. You don't walk into a legislator and say, you have to do this because you're a Democrat and it's in our platform, or we have a resolution on this, so you need to hear this bill and you need to pass it. That's not going to get you anywhere. You say it'd be great if you did, because this is what we stand for as Democrats. I would really like you to hear this bill, and you give the reasons why. And so yeah, so again, our platform or guiding principles are resolutions where the rubber meets the road, and how we see action and put our platform into action. The other party documents are there for you to see, but they really they don't have to do with advocacy right now. The bylaws and constitution and how we come together and work together as a party, our affirmative action plan, and how we're supposed to outreach to the underrepresented in our party. So there you go. So that's that. Again, I encourage you to check out the website to make sure you know what's happening there. We're going to, and I'm going to quickly go through everything so you can see it all on the slides, and then we're going to go to question and answers. So if you have any other questions, you can put them in the chat now, or we can wait till we get to the verbal part. So again, we've covered all this. You have, like I said, at the one, there you go, question and answers. Oh, I got to change that. I will change that last slide, because this is what happens when I reuse things. I will put the PAR information there. But for the time being, the link I'm going to give you will be the same link that's going to be there once I clean up that last slide. So on that note, I do want to thank you all. We are going to stop recording and go into anybody has any verbal question and answer periods, because I know some people are shy. I just don't happen to be one of them. Again, thank you on behalf of the Stonewall Caucus. We thank you, and we encourage you to once the video is up there, you encourage you to share it with others, along with the slide deck, so everybody can advocate better and get a better outcome for all of us here in Hawaii. Mahalo.